Welcome to Donnabrook. Welcome to the Donnabrook Podcast. Welcome to the Donnabrook Podcast, where we explore technology, how technology is reshaping communication, care, and inclusion across the health, disability, and aged care sectors. I'm Andrew Olsen, Director of Donnabrook, where we work with community-focused organizations from NDIS providers to aged care and housing, helping them modernize their communications with AI-powered telephony. Our focus is to help providers automate their operations and deliver efficiency, compliance, and better client experiences. Joining me today is Anita Gover, founder of TechAbility, which has been a leading voice for 7 years in helping organizations harness technology to become more inclusive, improve their business operations. TechAbility is particularly recognized for its work ensuring accessibility and digital confidence, providing technology consulting services across NDIS, aged care, allied health, and community service providers. Anita, thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, let's get started. You founded TechAbility 7 years ago. How has technology evolved during your time in that sector?
I would say that there's been a major transformation within the sector over the last 7 years. Over that time, when I started back then in 2018, I was still seeing a lot of providers using paper and those who maybe didn't have websites or even a professional email using their Gmails and Hotmails accounts. Now we're seeing organisations that are using software and technology to manage their everyday operations. So it's really shifted over the last 7 years. I think one of the major things that really accelerated that was COVID. We really saw a huge uptick in the use of technology when COVID hit. People really needed to pivot, as everyone was saying at the time, to use technology to run their businesses, to work remotely. And I think also the cloud technology has really taken over, and that also became a really big thing during COVID. So that has been a massive game changer in terms of the use of technology, and particularly in the sector. And nowadays we're starting to see this whole AI revolution coming forward, and people starting to adopt that and get very interested in it. So that's it's been a major shift in the last 7 years for digital maturity, particularly in the sector.
Yeah, it's interesting how we all think of COVID as a dark times. I don't have pleasant memories about it, but it really did have a big impact on how we operate and how technology is being leveraged. Like case in point, the video conference that we're doing now, just to be able to better communicate and collaborate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are NDIS Aged Care and community service organizations evolving in terms of the way they're using technology?
Yeah, for sure. I think that we're seeing NDIS providers are very much focused on using technology and improving the way that they run their businesses through the use of technology. We're starting to see aged care really shift as well, particularly in the last year or so since the Royal Commission report and recommendations were released, and similarly the NDIS Royal Commission recommendations report. Both of those really spoke about organisations that support people in those sectors using digital technology to improve their services. So we're really seeing a lot of NDIS and aged care service providers making use of technology and looking for innovative ways that they can improve their back-end operations, reduce the costs of running their organisations, as well as finding better ways of engaging with and supporting their clients.
Yeah, it really is becoming a deal breaker for those providers, the ones that it's no longer you can no longer continue to ignore the benefits that you can get from it, and I think if you do, it's going to be very increasingly difficult to remain viable.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really the shift that we're seeing, is that those who are embracing technology and using technology to improve their business and their operations are the ones that are going to remain long term in the sector.
Yeah, definitely. Not like most businesses, to be honest.
True.
It leads to the next question about the common technology pain points that you're seeing across these mid-sized organizations, and the solutions, the technology solutions that are working best for them,
hmm
in your view.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest pain point that we come across is data. It's always about the data or lack thereof, particularly in smaller organizations. We still see people, as I said earlier, using paper sometimes. Lots of spreadsheets. We have a lot of people that just have the most amazing spreadsheets, or millions of
Oh,
spreadsheets. So yeah, just the lack of accessible data. Data is key to sort of running your business, to building other innovation on top of the existing platforms. If you don't have good data to start with, you're in trouble. And
yeah.
I think also the integration of the data. So we see most of the organisations that we work with, they might have some systems, but they have many systems, and they have data in various different places. Nothing's integrated, nothing talks to each other, all disconnected systems. And so the data is being lost or having to be manually import. So really the data or the information that they have is not useful for them. So that's always been a major pain point, still is. And I think also, I guess another big pain point that we still see is cybersecurity. Whilst most people are very aware of security issues and cybersecurity, and they're very conscious of it, we're not seeing a lot of organisations doing much about it. So they know
Oh,
about it, and then maybe train some people about looking out for scams or phishing emails. But at the end of the day, they're not actually sort of doing proper assessments of their cybersecurity position, and making sure that they're addressing those cybersecurity issues.
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Data it's like a foundational pillar to leverage so much. Even if
Mm.
you wanted to build an FAQ chatbot, it has to be reliable and up to date, accurate data, and that's just the beginning.
Mhm.
Um, in addition to making it available across a number of different systems.
Mm.
It's a common topic that comes up in the work that I do, and from the data that modern telephony can produce.
Mm.
Key trends. What do you see in that space shaping the way not-for-profits approach digital investments today?
Well, going back to data again, the data-driven decision making. So we find that now, especially again since the Royal Commissions, that the funding bodies, Aged Care, NDIS, and other sort of government funding bodies are really wanting evidence of the impact that the work that the organisations are doing with the money that they're given. So being able to actually use the data and show that evidence through the data that you have is becoming more important. It's really not just about data's not just about running your business or being able to produce a compliance report. It's really about how organisations are helping to deliver better services. So I think that's really why people are starting to take notice of some of the AI solutions that are out there now, and how they can actually help the organisation to use the data that they have to provide better decision making for them as a business, to provide better reports back to funding bodies.
Yeah, what's the age-old adage? If you can't measure it, you can't manage it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, and without the data, you're not going to be able to measure it.
yeah, yeah. It's one of the key areas. It's the key benefits that comes from modernizing telephony as well, just getting visibility on your voice activity and
hmm
accountability. Um, this leads us into AI, and a very common topic nowadays.
Yeah.
What do you see as some of the most exciting AI opportunities for small to medium organizations in your sector? By sector being like, broadly community care.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're really seeing a lot of great applications, practical applications for AI nowadays. It was all just buzzwords and excitement for a while, but we're really starting to see real practical applications for it. Things like automating administrative tasks, um, simple things like client onboarding, um, staff onboarding as well through HR systems, documenting of notes. We see a lot of allied health and other organisations using AI tools to write better notes, write better reports, incident reports, compliance documentation, things like that. So, there's a lot of use now of AI tools for that type of administrative type work, which of course frees up, huge amounts of time for the back office staff, which is great. They can use their time a lot better. We're also seeing some software vendors starting to use some AI-powered tools within their software system. So using some AI, functionality, bringing in AI functionality into their existing systems, things like scheduling and rostering, matching of staff with clients, things like that. They're using a lot of tools that are starting to improve things slowly but surely. But we're starting to see some of those features coming through. And we're also starting to see a little bit of use of some predictive analysis. There's a lot more to go with that. I think it's really exciting. That's where I think that we're going to see a lot more work in the next year or so around looking at, let's say taking those notes and that information that you're capturing, taking the data that you have, identifying maybe patterns in client behavior or flagging any potential changes to the support needs that people have, so you can identify those patterns within the data that you have. So that's where, it gets a bit more exciting that, it doesn't rely on someone having to read through, volumes of notes and reports and try to remember if this person, try to work out if this person needs more support or this person is having more issues. You can actually help people before you get to that crisis point, with the data that's there. It could be flagging and telling you that we need to look at something, we need to work with this client a bit more closely.
Yeah, it's a big challenge. I such a balance between a great opportunity and the challenge of knowing where to start. I guess in the modern telephony space I work in, they're bringing in simple things like customer sentiment or call summaries generated by AI. Just having that information readily available, so allowing people to approach this in smaller steps. So on that note, then, what are you seeing as some of the biggest misconceptions around AI in the sector?
Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate there's a lot of people still a bit concerned about AI, and maybe they're valid concerns, but I think the biggest misconception in this sector really is that AI is going to replace humans. I don't think so in this sector especially, that's the reality, or it's certainly not the goal. AI is about augmenting human capability, but not replacing the human connections. So we can be improving and enhancing the way that we can support people by reducing some of the burden, some of the administrative side of things, and using some of that predictive analysis so that we can actually have better relationships with the clients and work closer with clients. So I think as well that AI will never replace that emotional and human connection. So that's, I think, the difference in this sector in particular, that, AI is not going to be replacing humans. A lot of people I also talk to are very concerned about privacy. and I think that the concerns are valid, but sometimes maybe over-exaggerated. There, of course, data protection and privacy of people's information is crucial, especially in this sector where you're working with vulnerable people. But there are many ways of managing it. I think if it's carefully considered and done right, then privacy concerns can be negated. So we've got a lot of tools out there, that can support the privacy and the security of information, but also having that governance in place right from the start around ensuring that you've got policies and strategies and plans around how AI and how data is used. AI is really an overlay of the data, so as long as you've got good data security and you're using, solid, well-trusted AI tools, then you can manage the privacy and security concerns.
Yeah, you've perfectly segued that into the next question about integrating governance, risk, and compliance into strategy, and doing that while staying flexible, especially for smaller organizations.
Yeah, I mean, the key for governance is really having that built into the foundations of your organisation rather than trying to bolt it on afterwards. And I know that that's, for larger organisations, they're going to have teams of people who can manage compliance and governance, and for smaller organisations, it's a lot more challenging. We do work with a lot of small to medium organisations, and of course, they don't have the capacity or the skill set to be building this kind of governance. So we sort of focus on what we call governance by design. So rather than having, policy documents that no one's ever going to read, we're building the compliance requirements into the systems and into the workflows that they have, so that they're just being used day to day as part and parcel with the tools that they're accessing.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I guess in part I see some of that coming through in my conversations, where and how they can automate processes to drive certain behavior that's obviously aligned to the governance that they want to try and maintain. The next question is a more personal one. I guess with your lived experience as an NDIS self-manager, how do you see empathy influence the way you map technology journey for clients? How has it influenced you there?
Well, it's really the core of everything I do, and the reason why I started TechAbility in the first place. Back then, I have a son with disability, and back then I was dealing with a lot of NDIS providers who supported my son. And I realized at that time, I'm talking sort of 7 or 8 years ago, that most of the people that I was dealing with, those NDIS providers I was dealing with, were either not using technology at all, or they had poor systems, or using it, not well. And I thought I can help these providers to improve their systems, improve their business, and then that would give them, the ability to provide better care to their clients. So, I feel like most providers that I work with, yes, they want to look after the bottom line. They need to sort of manage their business. It is a business at the end of the day, and they need to sort of be viable. But ultimately, the sustainability of their business means that they can provide support to their clients. So I think everything always comes back to their clients. With the people that I deal with in the sector, everyone cares about their clients, and technology can enable them to sort of manage their business better, so that they can provide that care to their clients.
Yeah, it's an interesting balance and duality between their care for their clients and participants, and where and how they can leverage technology. Even to the point I've had people tell me there's areas that they simply don't want to do because they think it'll unfair to the client. So it's it's identifying the balance that they're dealing with as well because of that connection
Mm.
they're having.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
For tech leaders in the sector, Anita, in not-for-profit space, what's the one leadership principle or practice you believe is non-negotiable today in this environment?
I think user-centered design is critical for tech leaders, for tech people, software developers in this sector. And user-centered design is not just about having a nice user interface of your system. It's actually about involving real frontline staff, real families and clients when you're actually designing and implementing the technology. And I think that's probably why, we're good at what we do, because, we do a lot of implementation of technology, and we have real life experience in the sector. We understand both sides. We understand the staff and the families. So I think that's really important for people in the sector, for techies and software providers in the sector, that they really need to be focused on what people need, how they're going to use systems. It may take more time and it may cost more money, but it's a huge payoff. People will actually want to use the systems that they're implementing. The systems won't be hindering the service delivery for staff members. There'll be a better experience for staff members as well. And it's going to support better outcomes for clients. So I think really the difference, that's the big difference between technology as a tool and technology as an enabler.
Yeah. It really is in the community sector, a holistic view that has to involve all the stakeholders, including the clients, the families, as you say, and how they interact with that and the impact it has on them. And one of the areas that keeps coming up in my conversation, well, one of the foundations I'm finding is the ability for the operations to remain agile, and to do that, you need to have an easy engagement with those systems that they have in place to monitor, manage, and change to, as you say, get those enablers in place. So final question here, and I appreciate your time. What's the one piece of technology or trend you're most excited about for the sector's future?
So I think, we've seen smart home technology in the last few years. We started to see smart home technology, wearable technology that's been emerging. And I think that's now starting to sort of go beyond, some basics like, turn the lights on or Google Home type things, Alexa and all of that. It's starting to go beyond that and actually being used in really clever ways in homes, for people with disabilities and also for elderly people. I've got an elderly mum living alone. I can see really great potential for some of these smart home technologies for, older people, for people with disabilities. Things like, fall detections and environmental sensors. Those sort of things are already kind of being used, but I can see further improvements happening in those areas. They're the tools, but I think where the power of AI is going to come in is actually that predictive analysis side of things as well, is actually detecting changes in sleep patterns, mobility issues, or maybe a change to a daily routine that might flag potential issues with people who are living alone. Maybe they can notify the support people or notify family members that there may be something wrong. So it's not going to replace people. It's actually just identifying potential problems. And that's where it becomes really proactive rather than reactive. It's actually going to potentially prevent issues for people, and be very much focused on person-centered support.
Especially with in-home, I can imagine in-home aged care. Are you aware of any providers that are leveraging any of these technologies now?
Yeah, absolutely. More so in the disability space.
Yep.
So, some of the SDA and SIL providers having some of this kind of technology already in place in their homes. Maybe not so much with the predictive analysis. That's really just starting to emerge now. But with the sort of smart home technology and wearable technology, a lot of and those sensors and things like that, a lot of the SDA and SIL providers are already using that kind of technology in their homes.
Yeah, interesting space. Look, I thank you for your time today, Anita, and sharing your insights and experience from the evolution of technology over the past 7 years to AI and the creation of NDIS. It's been quite a journey for you. And it's really interesting to see how you're highlighting the role of empathy here. It's underscoring the change and demanding future that NDIS and aged care, all the community sectors facing, even some of the recent changes you mentioned last week about childcare. Just noting here, at Donnabrook, we share your TechAbility's belief that the technologies should serve the people first. It's got to be a holistic approach. And the discussion here is underscored just how achievable that is with the right vision and leadership. So thanks again, Anita. There's plenty to reflect on there. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. Exciting times ahead.
Thank you.